हाँ हाँ, लेकिन मैं सैफ को उसके बहुत पहले जानता हूँ, क्योंकि फिल्में तो आपने सबने देखी है सैफ की, बहुत मतलब गज़ब और कमाल के एक्टर हैं, और आदमी भी बहुत अच्छे हैं। लेकिन मैं आई नो सैफ फ्रॉम द डेज व्हेन ही हैड जस्ट माय फर्स्ट recollection of Saif is when he had just returned, I think, from the UK from school, and we were outside a nightclub in Bombay, where I first noticed him, and he traded his designer PT shoes with sort of a really motley, sort of completely decrepit pair of black shoes from a taxi driver in Bombay. He gave his PT shoes to that driver and took the driver's black shoes, because you could only enter the club with black shoes. It was a regulation, and I thought that was he gave his designer PT shoes and took those shoes from the taxi driver just to get into and to gain entry into the nightclub, which I thought was very resourceful. And I always thought from that point of view, I said he has a great sense of humor, and he's a very resourceful person. And after that, I met, of course, I worked with him in a few films, and I think at that time he had decided that the best way to make a living, him and Akshay Kumar, I think, had decided the best way to make a living is dive through the air with two handguns. Having said that, Saif has always struck me as an actor with a lot of potential, and I think after Omkara, and before that as well, he's got a very good sense of very good timing in comedy. It was a movie we did together called Love Ke Liye Kuch Bhi Karega, which was absolutely fantastic, and there I got to work with him, and I got a feel of Saif's his timing, his sense of timing, which is really, really good. And then I actually saw Omkara, which sorry, excuse me. Yeah, hello. Yes. कहाँ से?
So, with films like Ashika Wara and Ye Dil Lagi, the second film which he did, do you think he created a Casanova flirty?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with Saif started working. He's got that very sort of urbane and urban suave kind of feel, and he certainly has a good degree of sophistication in his work, and he does come across as being, let's say, in a sort of a sophisticated secret agent kind of role, like a James Bond kind of character, which he has that persona which attracts people, and he can carry it off as well, which he has done so successfully in Race. But I mean, I really have always believed that Saif has a lot of and obviously still has a lot of potential. But what I'm happy to see, what I'm really pleased to see, is because I really think he's a wonderful guy, and I think I get along with him quite well, is that he's realized that potential, and I think it came to the fore in Omkara, where he really came into his own, where he got that, he began to वो जो ठहराव आता है, वो जो एक गहराई आती है परफॉर्मेंस में, उसमें मुझे लगा कि he really found his density, and he's for everyone to see. I mean, he's done really well, and he has worked at his performances, at his voice, at understanding himself as an actor and as a person. So that is in itself a very wonderful thing, and it tells you that here's a thinking actor who's looking to improve, looking to himself to be able to evolve as a personality and an actor. And I think he's done that very successfully. And of course now he's on a complete roll, and he's a mega star. So, and he's worked for it, because there was a time when people were sort of writing him off and saying that he can only do this, or he can only play the suave sort of Chota Nawab kind of thing. But he proved that wrong, which is full marks to him, really.
Talking about Omkara, nobody ever thought that Saif could portray such a kind of character and with such great intensity. So
Precisely. I mean, it's what I was saying. I mean, everyone perceived Saif as being the suave, gun-toting, a sophisticated kind of urban kind of character, which he does wonderfully. Don't get me wrong, he does it wonderfully. But that was one side of him. Then he goes and does Omkara, which was fantastic because it just proved that he's an actor and he can do any part that you give him. It's actually, he needed to prove that because in the film industry you have to prove yourself in every different role all the time. Otherwise, people, not only in the Indian film industry, the world over, you get sort of typecast, you get characterized. At the end of the day, people see what you present. So people very rarely, unless you know someone very well and you're acquainted with them and you meet them a lot and you understand another aspect of them, you understand that this person has a great sense of humor or this person has this particular natural talent. Otherwise, producers and directors use you for what they see you in. So it's important for actors to be able to present themselves in a different light. And I think he did that very successfully with Omkara, which gave a new dimension to his personality and his career and everything else. And of course, films like Race, I think those are films that he can handle completely. But nobody knew he could do an Omkara. If you tell people Saif was absolutely outstanding in Race, they say, yeah, we believe it because it's a suave, urbane city character. But the surprise was Omkara because nobody expected that Saif could do that, and he did it. So, I mean, I think that's absolutely incredible. I think that's wonderful.
Talking about Akshay.
One sec. Yeah.
बीच में काफी सारी फिल्में उन्होंने साथ में की और फिल्में चली भी. तो talking about their pairing.
हाँ, उनका पेयरिंग तो मतलब बिल्कुल सही बैलेंस था क्योंकि अक्षय उनकी जो पर्सनालिटी है इट इज़ मोर मतलब अर्दी, और अक्षय को आप ये भी कह सकते हैं कि वो मतलब एक गांव का कैरेक्टर भी अक्षय बन सकता है, और उसके सामने अगर एक शहर का कैरेक्टर हो जैसे सैफ का रोल है तो उनकी जोड़ी अच्छी होती थी क्योंकि एक थोड़ा सा मतलब रूरल किस्म का आदमी हो और एक शहर का आदमी हो, तो इसलिए उनका जो कॉम्बिनेशन था was very successful because they're totally different personalities. But they both like to fly in the air with guns. I think that's their common interest. And they did very well at it, I have to say. I would compliment them both. They were very good at it. I mean, most of the time when I used to see this set, I used to see Akshay and Saif on trampolines diving across the sky with guns, I mean, it was like, it had become like quite an interesting sort of situation at one time. But they paired very well for that because they are, in my opinion, totally different characters on the screen, and that's why their combination worked. It's difficult for me to say. I mean, there can be any reason here. I mean, there's so many reasons why films don't work. There are so many unknown reasons why films work. So, I mean, it's very difficult to say that, but I don't think it's because of him, because I mean, he's always been appreciated. And people have always, I'm sorry, this is too hot. I mean, I've got to move around. अभी कहेगा कि बात भी करो और हिलो भी नहीं, तो मतलब इतना तो कैसे होने वाला है? No, you got to open up a bit. I mean, you let me. जब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ और मैंने इंटरव्यू हो रहा है तो मेरी पर्सनालिटी तो आने दे. मैं तो क्या इतना है तो कुछ नहीं आएगा यार. इतना टाइट क्लोज मत कर, थोड़ा ब्रॉड कर फ्रेम को. मतलब मिड तो आना चाहिए इतना. मिड तो रखिए आप. मिड टू क्लोज में जाना. कुछ डायलॉग हो जो आगे आ जा, फिर खोल भी देना थोड़ा मिड शॉट में. हाउ व्हाट इज द ब्लॉक? जरा प्लीज बताना मुझको. तो आपका सवाल क्या था?
सवाल ये कर रही थी कि बीच में सब वक्त आ गया कि उनकी फिल्में इतना ज़्यादा बिजनेस नहीं करते हैं.
अभी इतने साल हो गए, मुझे मालूम नहीं है कि कौन सी पिक्चर क्यों नहीं चली, उसकी वजह क्या थी. कहना बहुत मुश्किल है मेरे लिए. लेकिन बहुत सी मतलब वजहें हो सकती हैं जो पिक्चरें नहीं चलती हैं. अब मतलब ये नहीं है कि उसके वजह से नहीं चली या इसके वजह से नहीं चली. अब पिक्चर नहीं चलती तो नहीं चलती. अभी जहाँ उसके करियर के उसके ग्राफ का हिसाब है तो आई थिंक ही वाज वर्किंग रियली वेल एंड ही वाज डूइंग थिंग्स वेरी वेल. अभी पिक्चर के नहीं चलती है तो इसका मतलब अगर मुझे मालूम होता तो बात ही कुछ और होती.
Talking about his character in Dil Chahta, if you have to talk about it, your take on his character.
It was wonderful. In fact, Farhan Akhtar's film Dil Chahta Hai was the beginning of a genre, I think, in the Indian film industry, where you could have the kind of film which is casual. It appeals to a younger audience. There were these three guys. They go off to Goa and they're in a car. They're having a good time. They're three young men having a good time. It was actually a genre builder, that film, for me, Dil Chahta Hai. And the casting was excellent with Aamir, अपना Akshay and Akshay Khanna this time, and Saif. It was perfect casting because I mean, it's actually a lot of the performances were wonderful all round. Saif was excellent, so was Amir, so was Akshay. But really, the credit for that film, I would say, goes to Farhan Akhtar for conceiving and doing a film of that nature. I mean, it was unthought of. Now they're doing films after Dil Chahta Hai, which is somewhat in that, like they've done Rock On, and sort of in a young genre, if you want to call it, appealing to, let's say, the so-called multiplex audience. I don't quite know what that means, but I mean, it means, I suppose, that it's for a younger audience. So he was excellent in it, and it was a very good piece of casting. In fact, that film, मुझे लगा कि सैफ है उस पिक्चर में. मुझे नहीं लगा कि वो कैरेक्टर कर रहा है, क्योंकि मैं उसको पहचानता हूँ, मैं उसको जानता हूँ. तो मेरे लिए जब मैंने पिक्चर देखी तो मुझे लगा कि सैफ तो he's being himself. It was that natural, and it was that good. And ditto with Amir and Akshay. I mean, they were just wonderful performances, and it's very difficult to do these performances. ड्रामा होता है एक्टर के सामने कि ये पन्ने पढ़ो, जोर से बोलो, ये करो, फलाना करो, तो वो तो मतलब लोग संभाल लेते हैं. लेकिन ये मतलब थ्रो अवे, गिव अवे, मतलब आप एक्टिंग कर रहे हैं लेकिन लग नहीं रहा, आप एक्टिंग करने ये बहुत मुश्किल होता है. सो टू ऑल ऑफ देम, you know, a big plus point with Dil Chahta Hai. I think being Cyrus ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया सैफ पे. उस फिल्म से, जैसे मैंने आपको पहले भी कहा था, कि लोगों को मालूम पड़ा कि सैफ मतलब वो एक्शन और वो रोमांटिक लाइट हीरो के अलावा कुछ और भी कर सकता है. एंड दैट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट. एंड एज फॉर अ नेगेटिव कैरेक्टर, हर कलाकार के मतलब अंदर एक वो होता है कि मैं कोई अलग सा किरदार निभाऊँ, अलग से कुछ एक्टिंग करो, अलग सा कैरेक्टर करो, जैसे अक्षय कुमार अभी कर रहे हैं. मतलब ही इज़ बीन एन एक्शन हीरो ऑल हिज लाइफ, एंड नाउ इज़ डन कॉमेडी, एंड ही सीन सच फैंटास्टिक सक्सेस. तो ये मतलब चीज़ें होती हैं जो आर्टिस्ट के अंदर होती है कि भैया मैं कॉमेडी कर सकता हूँ, मुझे कॉमेडी करना है. लेकिन वो आप एक ट्रैप में फंस जाते हैं, क्योंकि पब्लिक और मतलब इंडस्ट्री कहती है कि नहीं, जो आपका फॉर्मूला है वही रहना चाहिए. हम आपको कॉमेडी में कैसे करेंगे, आप तो एक्शन हीरो हैं, आप तो मतलब रोमांटिक हीरो हैं. तो अक्षय ने इसमें मतलब एज अ कॉमेडी स्विच भी किया, एंड सैफ डिड इट एज वेल विद अ नेगेटिव कैरेक्टर. शाहरुख खान का बाजीगर में ही वाज लाइक अ नेगेटिव कैरेक्टर. डर में भी वो नेगेटिव कैरेक्टर थे. सो आई थिंक, एंड देयर इज, आई मीन, हर इंसान में थोड़ी नेगेटिविटी, मतलब एक वो होता है कि वो मतलब बुरा काम भी कर सकते हैं, बुरा काम करने के काबिल है. तो कभी कभी वो मतलब वो अवतार जो है वो निकालना ज़रूरी होता है. I think he liked the role. मेरे ख्याल से he was very good in it.